The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Lori Daybell,
already convicted for the murders of her children.
Doomsday cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
she's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
She really thinks she's equipped to try this case.
She appears very sure of herself.
I have real trial experience.
It's going to be a strange trial. We'll see how it plays out.
We're on the record in the cult mom conspiracy trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. I'm your host, Cody Thomas, and I'm going to walk you through the most dramatic moments of week one in Lori Daybell's latest legal saga. Lori is already serving a life sentence in Idaho for the murder of her two youngest children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, and conspiring to kill her fifth husband's first wife. Now, the so-called doomsday cult mom is on trial for the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. It was a dramatic first week, one filled with emotional testimony, spiritual beliefs turned dark, and a crime scene the state claims was staged from the start. We're going to break it down for you day by day, but first, let's get you caught up on the case.
Alex Cox was Lori Vallow's older brother, and he was living next door to Lori and her two children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, when they were last seen in September of 2019. He followed her to Rexburg, Idaho, after he shot and killed her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, 2 months earlier on July 11th.
Your brother lives there with you?
No,
Okay.
he had stayed with me last night because I was worried he was going to come over and
Okay.
cause trouble with me.
Okay.
And just wanted someone else there, like my brother there, because I trust my brother.
Police in Chandler, Arizona investigated Charles' death, but never charged Alex Cox because they considered it to be a self-defense case.
He came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head, so I shot him to stop him.
12 years before Alex Cox killed Charles Vallow, he served 3 months in a Texas jail for attacking Lori's third husband, Joseph Ryan. He is Tylee's father, and the incident happened during a custody exchange. Alex Cox joked about it years later during a stand-up comedy routine.
You ever had something that you knew was the right thing to do, but it turns out that later on it was a felony?
During the fall of 2019, before family members realized Tylee and JJ were missing, police thought Alex Cox was responsible for 2 non-fatal shootings.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window, it shattered my driver's side window.
The first was on October 2nd, and the victim was Brandon Boudreau. He is the estranged husband of Lori's niece, Melanie. He told police he didn't get a good look at the shooter, but he had a good idea of who it was.
He knew that Alex Cox was kind of the family hitman, and he just fairly quickly came to the conclusion that it was Alex Cox.
The second was a week later on October 9th, and the victim was Tammy Daybell, the wife of Lori Vallow's new boyfriend, Chad Daybell.
It was an indication that there may have been something else going on, that maybe this might have been a first attempt to get her out of the picture, and it just didn't work.
10 days later, Tammy Daybell died at her home. At the time, there was no evidence Alex Cox was involved, but he's since been named as a deceased co-conspirator in her death. And 2 months after Tammy's death, Alex Cox died at his home.
911, where's your emergency?
I have a older male here named Alex. He just passed out here on my bathroom.
Police say they found no evidence of foul play, and the medical examiner ruled Alex Cox died of natural causes. He was also named as a deceased co-conspirator in the deaths of Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow.
The courtroom was packed as opening statements began. Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandmother, sat behind the prosecution. Brandon Boudreau, once on Lori's witness list, was there too, though later struck as a defense witness. The state wasted no time laying out their theory. Lori and her brother Alex Cox plotted to kill Charles Vallow, all for a life insurance payout and the freedom to be with Chad Daybell. Prosecutors said Lori believed Charles was possessed and claimed the crime scene didn't add up. No blood on the bat, no signs of a real struggle, and a whopping 47 minutes before 911 was called. Okay, now the moment you've been waiting for, a look at the biggest moments from day one, including Lori Daybell representing herself. In opening statements, Lori called it a family tragedy, not a murder. She claimed Charles was abusive and the shooting was done in self-defense.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Lori Vallow, or Lori Daybell, whatever name you want to call her by, is why Charles didn't just leave with JJ that morning. Lori Vallow is why Alex was able to shoot Charles. Lori Vallow is why Charles is dead. So what about the money? That life insurance policy. Charles Vallow had $1 million life insurance policy. When he got it, his wife, Lori Vallow, was the beneficiary. We know that Charles died on a Thursday, July 11th. That next Monday, July 15th, Lori Vallow called Banner Life Insurance. She told the agent that Charles had been accidentally shot. It was an accident. And that she was the beneficiary. Both of those statements are not correct. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence in this case is going to show you that Lori Vallow Daybell conspired with her brother, Alex Cox, to kill her husband, Charles Vallow. As we go through this trial, you will see photos of Charles's injury, photos of the crime scene, and hear testimony that will prove that this was not self-defense. As we go through this trial, you'll be provided with phone calls, emails, text messages, and hear testimony that lays out the motive for this murder: money and Chad Daybell.
The evidence will show that Tylee and Charles fought over the bat, and that after a struggle over the bat, Tylee fell onto the ground, and Charles lifted up the bat to hit Tylee with the bat. The evidence will show that Alex then intervened to protect Tylee from being hit with the bat. He did not have a gun. He was not wearing a shirt. The evidence will show that Alex and Charles got into a physical struggle for the bat and fell onto the ground. The evidence will show that Tylee, who was on the ground, was lifted up by me and sent outside to get away from the struggle and to protect JJ, who was still in the running car, in the rental car in the driveway. The evidence will show that after this struggle on the ground between Charles and Alex, that Charles prevailed with the bat and began to come towards me with the bat as I ran away from him into the kitchen. The evidence will show that at some point while I was running away from Charles, who was chasing me with the bat, that Alex apparently retrieved his gun. The evidence will show that I ran outside to the children and that Alex shot Charles in self-defense. As the state has mentioned, they're alleging that insurance money was my motive. Social Security was my motive. Spouses having insurance policies is not a crime. Collecting Social Security is not a crime. Self-defense is not a crime. A family tragedy is not a crime. It's a tragedy.
Juror issues kicked off day 2, but after a few adjustments, testimony resumed with police and paramedics who had described her brother Alex Cox as calm and Lori as emotionally detached. Lori tried to poke holes in the prosecution's story, questioning paramedics about CPR protocols. But first responders were firm. Charles showed signs of death when they arrived and no evidence of life-saving efforts. Here's a look at some of the best moments from day 2 of the cult mom conspiracy trial, including a retired detective who took the jury inside the crime scene using 3D reconstructions that revealed a second bullet was likely fired while Charles was already on the ground. That, and the lack of blood throughout the home, further challenged Lori Daybell's version of a violent struggle.
So you're getting what's coming in from 911. Are they relaying information to you?
Yes.
Are things like whether or not the patient is receiving CPR something that is very relevant to you?
Yes.
In this case, did you receive any information regarding that?
Yes. We were told that CPR instruction had been given and CPR was in progress.
When you saw that pooling like that, did that stand out to you or seem at all impactful in your decision of whether or not CPR had been given prior to your arrival?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because had adequate CPR been given there, I would have expected more blood possibly on there and perhaps a pool of blood under him. I didn't see any blood under him.
Would you agree that Charles Vallow was dead before you entered the house?
Yes.
Based upon your training, your experience, what you observed and what was done to Mr. Vallow, would you agree that it was highly unlikely that anyone had performed CPR on Charles Vallow prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
In this case, Captain Keller, do you know for a fact that CPR had not been given?
I do not know for a fact.
And do you know for a fact that CPR had been given?
I know for a fact that we gave CPR.
Prior to your coming in?
No.
No further questions?
Ultimately, is it your opinion that it is unlikely that CPR was given to this patient prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
Lori kept up her cross-examinations, even challenging how Charles's clothing could have impacted the forensics. But the detective stood firm. We then heard from Nancy Jo Hancock, a woman Charles had dinner with the night before he died. She testified that Charles was hopeful, trying to move forward, and had changed his life insurance to Kay Woodcock. Here's a look at some of the biggest moments from day 3, including the chilling testimony from Christina Atwood, a former friend of Lori's, who told jurors Lori believed Charles was possessed and said Alex joked more than once that he wanted to kill him in front of Lori, who never objected.
Just with the information that's been provided, I can't tell you one way or another if there's another shooter because the evidence does not show that there was.
So all you really know for sure, after your 5 years of investigation, is that my husband was shot 2 times, 1 by that particular gun, 2 with those particular bullets, at my residence, and that he passed away as a result of that. Would that be correct?
Oversimplified, there is a lot more information that is available to us for that.
Is that correct? Is that question correct?
Those are some known facts, yes, but that is not all we know.
So you can't really tell me for sure who shot him, can you?
Well, as we've established, I was not present when it happened. I can only go with the facts of what people have said and what the evidence shows.
You don't really know what time he was shot, do you?
Actually, no, I don't.
Okay. You don't really know if he was falling back or lying supine on the floor, do you?
Yes, I do.
You don't really know what time my husband actually passed away, do you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Thank you. No more questions.
Can you tell us, you said that you understood he was going to go see his son. What was his demeanor about with regards to JJ and seeing his son?
Like a kid on Christmas morning, he was very excited to see JJ. He was under the impression you were having an affair, so him moving on was a natural effect from that.
He told you that?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then you had no contact with Charles after that, correct?
Well, he was dead, so clearly I didn't have contact with him.
Was there anything that Lori said at this meeting in February-ish of 2019 that she said about Charles that stood out to you?
She was concerned about dark spirits plaguing him.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
The key witness on day 4 was Lori's brother, Adam Cox, who said Charles asked him to help stage an intervention because Lori believed Charles was inhabited by a dark spirit named Ned. But when Adam flew to Arizona, things went quiet. The next day, Charles was dead. Then came the testimony of Serena Sharp, a woman who witnessed one of Lori's spiritual castings. Lori asked a group to help expel Ned from Charles. Serena called it strange and unsettling. We also heard from forensic experts about the bat at the scene and from Kay Woodcock, who painted a heartbreaking picture of Charles's final days. She told jurors that Lori had FedExed his ashes to her without any warning. Let's first take a look at testimony from Lori's surviving brother, Adam Cox, as he faces his sister in the courtroom during cross-examination.
We see that you wrote at 7:36 and 28 seconds, they are planning something. Why did you write that?
Because Alex not answering his phone the whole day and me calling him and texting him, not knowing where he's at. Nobody in my family said they heard from him or knew where he was. All that is very suspicious to me. And then Alex being at Lori's house that morning felt like something was really off. I was talking with Eric saying something doesn't feel right. I haven't heard from Charles, and usually he would text me or send me a message or something. And then Eric asked me, he goes, well, what's his last name? And I said, Vallow. And he was on his computer and he just Googled Charles Vallow. And he said it popped up that he's been killed by his brother-in-law.
What is going through your mind now?
Just everything, chaos. I had a knot in my stomach. Just probably one of the worst feelings I've ever felt in my life.
Did you see with your eyes, or hear with your ears, or personally witness me conspire with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my husband, Charles Vallow?
No.
Talking to your family after this happened, did you actually tell them that you believed that Lori and Alex had conspired to kill Charles?
Yes.
Why was that?
Because Lori had told people that Charles was no longer living, that some guy named Ned was inside of his body, that there was a zombie living inside of him. And Alex didn't respond to any of my text messages when I was supposed to be with him. And he was at that house that morning. Lori talking crazy about how she's a translated being. All these things all added up into that moment and that morning. Once I found out on Saturday that Charles was shot and killed, no doubt in my mind that they killed him.
Did Lori talk to you about her husband, Charles Vallow, being possessed?
Yes, she did. I recall that she spoke about her husband being possessed by an evil spirit, and she named the evil spirit.
Do you recall what the name was?
Yes.
What was it?
It was Ned.
In listening to Lori, did zombie sort of come to... Did you understand that to mean someone whose body was possessed by an evil spirit?
Prior to this, I had thought zombie was like a Hollywood thing, but she tried to relate the zombie and correlate that to the evil spirit that was inside of somebody.
Like her husband?
Like her husband, yes. I remember Lori started and asked for this help for her husband because she needed to cast out this evil spirit, and she asked to just go around the room and each of us take turns casting out to see if we could get rid of this evil spirit within him.
How did you learn that your brother Charles was dead?
I got a call from his oldest son, Cole, and he said, "Hey, what is going on? I just got a text from Lori, and she said Dad's dead." So I called my husband to tell him, and he said, "Okay, well, I told him that what the Cole said, and he said, "Hey, let me call you back in a minute." He called and he said, "He's dead." I Googled him, and he's dead. Alex killed him. I mean, that was just like, it was horrible.
From spiritual possession to staged crime scenes, Week 1 revealed the tangled web of faith, family, and fatal choices in the case against Lori Daybell. Next week, we'll hear from more investigators, more family members, and maybe, finally, see how Lori's defense holds up under pressure. I'm Cody Thomas, and as always, thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you next time we go back on the record for Week 2 of the cult mom conspiracy trial of Lori Daybell.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.